Hello everybody, my name is Marlilo, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about how the piano used in Minecraft sounds so good. C418, or Daniel Rosenfeld's Minecraft Volume Alpha, is widely regarded as one of, if not the most memorable and influential video game soundtracks ever created, receiving over 6,000 reviews in the highest rating category possible on albumoftheyear.org. I don't think it would be ridiculous to say that much of Gen Z could tell you exactly what C418's Volume Alpha is and where it came from. I mean, if you just listen closely, you can almost hear the millions upon millions of lives the album has influenced and changed. And while it does happen, it's not often that music has that widespread of an effect on people, let alone an entire generation. Naturally, there are hundreds of very popular YouTube videos talking about why Minecraft's music works, or what Minecraft's music does right. But what I wanted to know was, how? How did a pretty normal seeming guy from East Germany create something so influential and so unbelievably magical? Of course, the general consensus is that a lot of the nostalgia for the music comes from actually playing the game. And that's completely true, but there's something I'd like to point out about the direction that C418 took the soundtrack in. That is, the fact that he chose such a melancholic and peaceful sound for Minecraft instead of the obvious choice, which would have been just some chiptune slop to match with the pixelated, playful nature of the game. Nostalgia for video game music is widespread, but in my opinion, nothing feels quite the same as Minecraft's relatively simple, but everlastingly fascinating composition. Anyway, on to the instruments. When I started researching this topic, the first thing I wanted to pick out from the library of instruments C418 uses were the pianos. At least for me, the first thing I think of when it comes to Minecraft's music is the piano. The piano has always had a very special place in my life, as it was sort of my first introduction to making music. And I think that's the same for a lot of other people as well. I've loved music forever, and was very lucky to be able to start learning how to play the piano really early in my life. Therefore, there's something about that instrument that is just really enticing and so nostalgic for me. To be honest, this is sort of the main reason I wanted to know more about how C418 got the instruments in his music to be the way that they are. The more that I learned, the more shocked I became. See, when I was younger, for whatever reason, I thought that some of C418's songs were recorded live. In some of them, like Dry Hands, you can actually hear keys clicking and the sustain pedal being pushed and released on the piano. But researching this led me to the fact that C418 actually used almost exclusively sampled piano libraries and didn't own many instruments when Volume Alpha was released. In fact, he used to be very open on his website back when Minecraft was being developed, and would somewhat regularly post updates and insights into how the soundtrack was made, meaning that most of what he used to compose Minecraft's soundtrack is actually public knowledge, and most of it is still publicly available. Additionally, it looks like he keeps a record of every single project he's ever done, according to this TikTok that he posted in late 2021. So he's still got all of these projects from the early days. Most probably don't work at all, but that is just so cool to me. If you're somebody that makes art, never ever delete or trash anything, even if you think it's bad. It's great to look back on that stuff and think about how far you've grown not only as an artist, but also as a person. As far as pianos go, C418 actually uses one of two sampled pianos in Volume Alpha, which is actually quite interesting. Usually, when you want a soundtrack or an album to be cohesive, you pick out some sounds you like and you stick with them. But I think the fact that he didn't just stick with one piano reveals something about both the game and the soundtrack that's super intriguing. Obviously, Minecraft was never made with the intention of blowing up to be the most sold video game ever, and so those rules for how a video game soundtrack should sound or play didn't even occur to anyone involved with the game at the beginning. It was just pure expression without pressure from bosses or crunch from major leagues in a studio. Minecraft had something special, and that's evident even 15 years later. The first of the pianos, used in songs like Sweden and Clark, is the Ableton 8 stock grand piano keys patch. That's right, the stock piano from Ableton. When I found this out, I was so utterly confused, and that just proves that plugins and money aren't everything in making music that moves people. Unfortunately, since the release of, I think, Ableton 10, the stock piano samples have been changed, and no longer sound the same. Luckily, I was able to track down the original samples from Ableton 8 and turn them into a custom Kontakt library so that I can use them in any DAW I want. If you're able to snag an Ableton 8 disc on eBay, I highly recommend doing the same. It's a very fun but also very tedious experience. The second piano used is Native Instruments acoustic piano. used in songs like Wet Hands and Equinox. However, this plugin is also no longer for sale and was discontinued in Native Instruments Complete a few years ago along with Kontakt 6. Funnily enough, it was re-released in mid-2022 through a special deal with Plugin Boutique, but that is also no longer available. As an alternative to this piano, you could use Imperfect Sample's Steinway Walnut Concert Grand, as listed on C418's website, which is used in Volume Beta. And I could go over Volume Beta's pianos, but I think that would warrant a different video maybe. I think this also brings up an issue of sorts that has to do with so-called vintage libraries. It's incredibly hard to legally own many of them nowadays, which is a problem for people that like archiving, such as myself. The most interesting part about all of these sample libraries is that they're relatively low fidelity. But when listening to the soundtrack, the average listener won't ever notice, which just further shows C418's talent and expertise in the field. Anyway, that's it for this video. I'll be posting some original stuff in the next few days before I go back to college on the 21st, so I hope you guys enjoy that. I'll see you all later.